Lee?
Yeah.
I muted you.
You muted me?
Yeah, I muted you, so we're only live now.
Oh, well, a lot of people would probably appreciate you muting me, but that notwithstanding.
Everybody know what he just said was hilarious.
Anyway, what I was saying was I was asking my assistant that works for me in the office down the street. I was asking her if she had traveled at all over the course of the holidays. She assured me she had not, and did all the right things, because you know that's been a big story around Niagara over the last little while. Well, not just Niagara, actually all across the country, because there have been many folks, I know, sort of practicing that old adage of do what I say and not as I do. Asking us not to travel anywhere, especially outside the country, and then, well, you heard all the stories, won't go into all of it. But that's one of the key focuses on our program today, and I'll talk more about what I said a little while from now. But just to kick off this program, because this is probably the most impactful thing that both Kevin and I, Kevin Jack, by the way, executive producer of the program, proprietor and owner, co-owner of WeeStreem that produces this whole thing. Kevin and I both agree this is probably the most impactful video that we have seen posted on social media in, well, the past couple of weeks or so while we've been trying to get back into the swing of this thing. Her name is Tara Murley. She is Manhattan's Bar and Grill co-owner and general manager in the city of St. Catharines, and, well, we'll let her video speak for itself.
So, I'm so pissed right now that I can't even stop crying. I've done my best to kind of shield myself from any numbers, any news, because it's not going to change anything till at the very earliest end of January. And then I wake up and I went to Google something else, and it shows a list of politicians that have been on vacation in the last few weeks to a month. Again, these are not like sad tears. I'm livid to all of you. It's not one of you that's exempt. Not one party. Despicable. So let me break it down. My friend who battled breast cancer and won can't have her reconstructive surgery, but you could sip fucking Mai Tais on a beach in Hawaii. Our kids can't go to school and are obviously suffering emotionally and mentally because of it. But one of you went to the goddamn UK. Have you lost your fucking minds? Sitting here alone in the restaurant? Luckily, I have the best customers, guests who have now become family that support us and allow us to stay afloat during this. But you pieces of garbage are getting on a plane. All while sending out fake goddamn videos to try and trick us that you're at home, telling us thank you for your sacrifice. Rubbish. Complete goddamn rubbish. I haven't seen my nephew in months. But you're working on your tan. Cool. Oh, has it been a stressful year for you? Has it been a stressful few 10 months? Yeah, please. I'm deciding whether to pay hydro or gas because I can't afford both. But you've had a tough year, right? Absolutely ridiculous.
Okay. First of all, we apologize for some of the inappropriate language that was in that piece, but I wanted to include it because it is part of the passion with which that young woman presented that piece. And to bleep her or edit that piece would have been untrue to the spirit of what she was trying to say and how her true feelings came out. So in one way I apologize for the language, and another way I don't. So you can, if that's a problem for you, you can blame us, not her. All right? Tara is going to be joining us on the program at 1 o'clock this afternoon. She's going to be joining us live here on Niagara 411 Live. Now let me talk a little bit more about that. We have had a very successful 2020. I know there have been others that have sort of struggled, and believe me, those of us that are involved with life in general have had our challenges as well, but this program was launched in 2020 and was very, very successful over the course of about 27 episodes. This is episode 28 of the program, by the way. We originally called it the 411. It was through the platform of WeeStreem Niagara because it was one of those separate launches on Facebook that we did, and then retooling what we were looking at as we looked forward to 2021. We hooked up and had more discussions with Kevin and WeeStreem Niagara, as well as Nick at Niagara 411, and decided to simplify the message a little bit, because out there, as you know, in the world of social media, things can get very complicated, and there's so many people competing for what they call part of state of mind, or part of the mind, message of the mind, and there's a lot of confusion. So what we wanted to do is eliminate any confusion and just come right out and say, hey, we partner with Nick at Niagara 411 and all of his contributors, including yourself. So we thought we'd just cut out the WeeStreem Niagara thing for the moment. It's another entity that is still there, and you'll probably see more of it in the near future. But we thought that we would just keep it simple and tell it like it is. And what it is Niagara 411 Live. You, of course, contribute to Niagara 411 every week, sometimes every day. And we have one opportunity to do a live representation of the big stories of the week that have gone by and those that are coming up. So the new name is Niagara 411 Live. We still have, I am pleased as punch to say, the very same sponsor as we have had over the past 27 episodes, Gales Gas Bars Limited. Thank you very much for joining us and staying with us. We have agreed to do this for 6 more months, believe it or not. So thank you very much to Jessica Friesen and her staff and crew at Gales Gas Bars Limited for being part of this pioneer-style broadcast here in Niagara. To Dave McParian and his staff at Fiddler's Poorhouse, our same location, sitting here in the window of Fiddler's at 149 St. Paul Street in St. Catharines. And of course, if you've been watching this program at all, you'll notice that it's extremely more quiet than it has been on the last few occasions. That, because we have changed our time, we had an experiment where we thought we would throw it in on an evening hour, etc., and it did present. See, I've been off for 3 weeks. This is what happens. It did present some interesting ambiance with the background sounds, etc., people here, but now we have the whole COVID restriction thing back in place, and we thought this noon hour might be a more convenient time for you to view, be it at your desk or over your lunch hour, and participate in the program. So the location is the same. The time is new. Thursdays at noon we will be here. Our title sponsor is the same, and you may see some other sponsors along the way pop in and take a piece of this program. So, and of course, as always, we are produced by and executive produced by WeeStream here in Niagara. And while I mention that, I could tell you what that is, but why don't we let the owner and executive producer tell you exactly what that is? Because we're kicking this year off trying to reset. We're pressing reset and getting bigger and better. I think you'll notice some of the graphics along the bottom are new and improved. We have a much nicer sort of view of the whole thing, and that is due to Kevin Jack, who you see in your screen. So we'll let him take over and tell us about what it is the heck we're doing here.
I mean, who the heck didn't want to leave 2020 behind, right? Ourselves included. So.
You know what? We've talked about that, but the people that thought that somebody was going to flick a switch and the world would all of a sudden clarify in 2021, I think are going to be sadly disappointed. But that's another conversation.
Well, we did our part, Lee. And,
we did.
And a lot of what you said happened and occurred over the holidays. We had deep thoughts about this program. We are still going to, of course, retweak and retool over the years, but we tried to make it a little more slick. We made it symbiotic with Niagara 411. Nick was telling us that he was getting inquiries wondering if there was a relationship between our show and Niagara 411.
Yeah.
And of course there was, and there always was from day one. But let's just go right out there and just call the show Niagara 411 Live.
Live, yeah.
And that's what it is. We use Niagara 411 not only as our source of information and to generate news, but also to generate guests and to talk to people.
Yes.
That are commenting on Niagara 411 stories, may have witnessed some of the events that kind of unfold in the comments section of Niagara 411. If you're on Niagara 411 and you ever wanted to be on the show, it's so easy to do so. This is something that we're going to be pushing in 2021, Lee. I know that is the participation by you, by the regular people of Niagara. All you have to do is click that Zoom link and we'll throw you on and you can chat one-on-one with Lee. Maybe you feel the same way that Tara does. Maybe there's a burr in your saddle, whatever it is you want to chat about.
Yeah.
Hopefully, hey, how about a good news story? You know, a good news story, you can come on and talk about that. It's absolutely free and it's open, and that's what we're here to do. But 2021 is going to break a lot of barriers for the program. We're here Thursdays at noon, midday. You can even walk by St. Paul Street and see us. We'll be live
right behind.
Noon to 1:30. All you got to do is stroll by, give us a little wave.
Can you show us the camera view from out there just so that we know
sure.
that... see?
There you go. We got a couple people coming up right now.
Hey. So,
Oh, there. I'll get rid of your name though, Lee. It's not you.
Lee Sterry. It's Lee Sterry's downtown.
So you go. There's St. Paul Street looking west out towards Ontario, and the Burgoyne Bridge is just around the bend there to the left.
Right. We're sort of across from where you would take the bridge or the walkway over to the Meridian Center.
Absolutely, Lee.
And you're more than welcome to pop by and give us a wave or give us a shout. And on your cell phone, you can get in touch with us as well. There's a link on the post whereby you can just click in. You'll go into what we call our green room. It's sort of like a Zoom room, waiting room. And then Kevin will prep you, make sure the makeup people make you look good and everything, and then you can come
all
on.
The filters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. and
Oh, Lee, here's something as well. I tried to give it a cleaner look on the show and more of like a TV look.
Yeah.
But of course, you can't have like a TV look without breaking news, Lee.
Oh, there! Look at that.
If that doesn't draw eyeballs, I don't know what does.
Look at that. Breaking news. Ding, 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 ding,
I mean,
ding,
does
ding.
CNN ever not have breaking news on there?
No.
It's
No.
It's always breaking
There's
news.
always something breaking.
Co-host went to the bathroom.
Yep. Yep. Speaking of which, no, it's okay. Yeah. So that's a little bit about the program, and one of the things I would really encourage you to think about is treating this program as if it were a radio talk show that you might want to call in anonymity. And I know it's one of those situations where, oh gee, I don't want to go on camera, and it's one of our goals over the course of 2021, and we know it's not going to happen overnight, to get spontaneous participation in the program. And you don't have to make an appointment weeks or days or hours in advance. You can just pop in, and if we have time to pop you on, we just say, hey, Jim, what do you have to say? Or what do you want to know? What do you want to ask? What do you want to comment on? And it could be anything at all. And it goes out to all Niagara. Yes, we are located here in downtown St. Catharines, but it is not a St. Catharines-centric program. It is a Niagara program. And yes, we will dip our toe outside the Niagara boundaries from time to time because there are things that are just too big to ignore. i.e., what was happening in Washington, D.C. yesterday. That is probably the single most shiny elephant in the room that people have been talking about since early yesterday afternoon. I myself was glued to the television set, very sad about what I was seeing. I have been in the Capitol building twice in Washington, D.C. I even have a picture of my wife, not to out her too much, but I even have a picture of my wife dumpster diving at the back of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. And the reason I mention this...
doing a Watergate?
No, I'm going to tell you. The reason I mention this is because people have questioned the security that was in place yesterday, or the lack of, for that matter. And I remember the last time we were there, we took a tour because we wanted to go through the inner sanctum and through the chambers that you saw desecrated yesterday on television. And we did. And here's what kind of surprised me is the fact that my wife could not get into the building with a banana. That is the truth. We went to the door where we were told to enter, and she had a little bag because we were tourists. We were walking through D.C. and along the promenade, etc. And we went to go inside, and the security guard said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, you can't bring that in here." Then she said, "What? It's just it's like an apple and a banana." Well, I'm sorry, you can't bring them in here. She says, "Well, what am I supposed to do with them?" Put them in there. Well, it was a dumpster. So she had to throw her apple and banana in the dumpster just outside the entrance to the Capitol building. And then God bless her, she doesn't want to waste a thing. They were wrapped up and everything. So when we came out, after finishing what we had seen, which was pretty impressive and very moving, by the way, she climbed over the edge of the dumpster to see if she could find her banana. So to this day, it's one of my favorite photographs. So here they are trying to keep a mature woman from entering the Capitol with a banana and an apple, and then we see what happens yesterday. So it's like one of those. I realize it's not really quite the same thing, but it just sort of brought back some strange memories to me, and it was horribly sad. Apples and bananas, no, but the nuts are still allowed inside. I guess you could say that. That's a very good analogy, Kevin. Very horrible scene. As people have said, this president will probably go down with an awful lot of different footnotes under his name. How he will turn out, I don't know. Could be in a white jacket somewhere someday, drooling and blithering, I still won, I still won, I still won. I don't know. But we didn't want to, if you want to follow, of course, what's happening in the United States, there are a lot of different venues for you to do that. We don't have to flog it today on through this venue, and we're not going to, except to say that we feel the pain and the incredulity of everybody that has been watching this from Canada. Very, very, very. I love the city and I love the country. I have many friends, and family in the United States, and it saddens me greatly to see what has happened.
Lee, can you clear up some Washington geography? Have I never been there? I mean, I recognize the Capitol building because this is where the inauguration takes place.
Right.
So once every 4 years, I see this building. Outside of that, we're all familiar with the White House. How proximate are they?
Okay. It's walkable, but it's a fairly long walk. If you at one end of the reflecting pool, there is the Lincoln Memorial. Okay, imagine the Lincoln Memorial
The big
here.
tower, right?
No,
What's the, oh, the Lincoln
no, the
Memorial's
Lincoln
him on the chair.
Memorial.
That's him on the chair.
It's this large Grecian-looking edifice with pillars along the front, and Abraham Lincoln is sitting in a chair inside on a platform.
That's right. Yeah.
All right? If you come down the step, if you come right outside the Lincoln Memorial, there is a plaque, and that is where Martin Luther King delivered his I Have a Dream speech, right on that spot. Then as you go down the stairs, you get into the reflecting pool. The Vietnam Memorial is on your left, which is incredibly emotionally moving. It's a large black granite wall with hundreds of thousands of names inscribed on it. So all along, all in front of the Lincoln Memorial, and the Vietnam Memorial is on the left. The reflecting pool extends all the way down to where the Washington Monument stands, which is the obelisk with the point at the top. Okay? So now you've come from the Lincoln Memorial through the reflecting pool to, and there's paths around both sides, to the Washington Monument. Then beyond the Washington Monument, if you walked across the grass and up the hill, is the Capitol building. So everything is sort of in a line, and over on that side between the Lincoln Memorial and the Vietnam Memorial is the White House way over there. And then so you walk all the way down Pennsylvania, and eventually you walk around and find yourself at the Capitol building. So everything is sort of in a line.
Let me see. Maybe you can add some more clarity to that, Lee. Here, hold on a second. And okay, so this is the kind of line right here, I believe, right? And that water, I guess. So there's the White House,
Right.
with the reflecting pool. And you're right. Everything else seems to be lined up in a line here. And I guess the Capitol building is one of these.
Hang on. What do you? Yeah, there's the Washington Monument. Yeah. And then keep going.
To the west here, I guess I'm tracking.
Beyond that,
Okay.
that's the National War
that's the
Memorial,
reflecting
and there's
pool
the
right there.
Capitol building.
Okay,
Okay.
the War Memorial. I got you. And the Capitol building.
That's the World War II memorial. It's relatively new.
Okay.
And there's a really nice piazza, plaza type area. You can walk around with benches, et cetera. It's very, very nice. But beyond that you just showed, down there's the Capitol building right there, the orange building.
Oh, the orange building. Oh, right there.
Yeah, right there. That's the Capitol building.
Right there. Okay.
All right. And so that's the route that they would have taken. They wouldn't have walked past the reflecting pool. They would have walked straight down Pennsylvania Avenue and then just curled over a little bit into where the Capitol building is. All right. So, I was glued. I was simply glued to the TV, and I know a lot of people were. Coming up at 12:30, we'll move on because, again, like I said, if you want to talk about the United States, there's a lot of places you can do that. If you want to weigh in on your opinion, by the way, today, we're not going to spend any more time on it right now, but should you feel so inclined, as we said, pop into the room and we'll chat. It's, in my mind, one of the most pivotal points in American history, and just about this far from Civil War. And I don't think that's putting too strong a point on it. Coming up in just a very short time, Erik Tomas is going to be joining us. He is the founder, host of Raceline Radio, probably Canada's longest running syndicated program. Of course, it centers on motorsports. And one of the reasons that we wanted to talk, well, the reason that we wanted to talk to Erik, he has joined us now on the program already, is the fact that, let me get my little earpiece in place here, is I happen to note that in these strange days of businesses struggling, etc., there is a local business in the racing world that has that is ready to move forward with 2021, and I can't seem to be. So you take 2 weeks off and you don't know how to do this stuff, but I'll get it.
But now you're saying there's some changes forthcoming at Humberstone.
At Humberstone,
Yeah,
in
one of
in the
our local
lovely
tracks here.
community of Port Colborne. Erik, now that I can finally hear you, good afternoon and welcome to the show.
Good to see you, Lee. Can you hear me all right, bud?
I can, my friend. I can
Good.
hear
Happy
you and
New
see
Year to
you.
Yes, you too.
I hope you and your family had a wonderful time vacationing in the Dominican Republic this year.
Bite your tongue. Bite your tongue. I was watching. Oh, yeah, there we are on camera adjusting of his IFB.
Yes.
This is very, very good. Yes.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, nice work there.
I told you we're live.
He gets double scale now. He was on camera, so he gets double scale now.
Yeah.
No, I saw the video that you started with, and the frustration with that lady, and I think you made the right decision by leaving the F-bombs in, because I think it really illustrates the frustration of a lot of people, that you are supposed to be making sacrifices for the greater good, yet the hypocritical politicians who tell you you need to do those aren't following it themselves. That kind of junk infuriates me. I know it infuriates you. It infuriates people trying to operate small businesses, restaurants. Miss Janice owns and runs a small business in St. Catharines in Ace Alignment. And you know all of that. And we're all going through this. And for these clowns to pull this kind of stuff, and if it was one, you could say, okay, but there's, what, a dozen? What's the number of people trying this and try to pull the wool over our eyes? And I'm sorry, friends, we all ain't that stupid. And you got caught, and that's the reason why you're, I'm sorry I did it. Oh, baloney. And it infuriates people. And I understand how you get frustrated.
I do as well. And the thing is, if you look at it through a clinical microscope, you realize that technically they did not break the law, because it is okay to hear me out here for a second.
I understand where you're going.
It is okay to travel if you do so under certain restrictions and certain procedures, etc. So technically, they did not break any law that was in place. So it's not prosecutable. But the point that people lose sight of is the fact that people in those situations, not just politicians, but people in supervisory or management positions or public positions are automatically, be it right or wrong, automatically held to a higher standard.
It's called ethics.
They are expected to lead by example, not just follow the letter of the law. There is, as you well know, there are two things called the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. Lawyers and judges talk about the letter of the law. The rest of the company or country considers the spirit of the law significantly more important. And this is where these people, unfortunately, sadly, missed the mark.
No, they did.
Yeah,
failed big time. It's called ethics, Lee. I mean, it's a question of and you said it the right way at the beginning of your segment, is don't do as I do, do as I say.
Yeah.
This elitist attitude where I'm entitled to go away while I'm telling other people to do something for the greater good. Man, if you don't understand the fault in that, then you really shouldn't be in office, and you really should have no position of power or influence, because
you don't belong.
You have any morals at all, you don't try this kind of baloney.
No,
and
I agree.
Unfortunately, we've seen it and I can understand why people are so frustrated. Now, thank you for letting me rant on something that you probably didn't call me to talk about.
No, I knew you would, but that's been our relationship over the years, and so it sort of comes with the territory, and I'm good with that. But one of the positive things that I have seen over the last few days is that in spite of all the challenges that we are facing in the business world, and especially the entertainment side of the business world, and motorsports being one of those, is the fact that we have some really positive news happening at Humberstone. And
yeah, we really do.
And I thought who better to fill us in on what's going on than E.T.
That's me. You know, and the funny thing about it is, and we have to start talking about, you know, Terry Vince and the new ownership and managing and promotion of Humberstone Speedway, that is now going to be running their 63rd season of operation.
That's amazing.
I'm going to backtrack. Yeah, and it's amazing when you think that we are in a very unique area, and I'm talking about the auto racing business that has been ingrained in our region since the very early 1950s. And where you're situated and where I'm situated, I'm in Font Hill and you're in St. Catharines. Within less than an hour, like no other place in Canada that I know of, and somebody may find something geographically, that within less than an hour's drive, you can go to one of 3 local speedways on 3 consecutive nights. Friday at Ransomville, this will be when they didn't operate last year because of COVID. Wow. This will be season 63 for them. Merrittville Speedway, just down the road, will celebrate their 70th anniversary, their 70th consecutive season. And now Humberstone with season 63 coming up in 2021. All within local driving distance. It's a very unique situation, and sometimes I don't know if the race fans understand how lucky they are to have that situation.
Yeah.
You do Ransomville on Friday, Merrittville on Saturday night, and then Humberstone on Sunday. A track that has been around since the very early 1950s, as I said. The Poole family ran it for many, many years in the 60s into the 70s, and then Linda Costco and her late husband Pete owned it for the longest time. The last little while, they gave up ownership of it and leased it out to a local individual who sadly was not able to make it fly. And last year they just had a season pretty much battered to death by the COVID situation. But Terry Vince is the new guy in charge of Humberstone, and here's a guy who's with competition engines, is an engine builder. He's a guy who grew up with the sport, and it's kind of like you and I. We talk about, aren't radio managers, and you've been a manager much more than I have, you love guys that manage radio stations who have been behind the glass and have been on mic and know the rigors of working in the trenches and not just sitting up there with a shirt and tie on trying to run things when they wouldn't know where the mic switch is. But Terry Vince is a guy who has a lot of background in the sport, a lot of history in the sport, a lot of know-how in the sport. He's already poured a great deal of effort and capital into this place to bring it back so we get that big racing triumvirate back and vital again for 2021, COVID permitting.
Yeah. So, Erik, what is... there are some changes. It's not just going to be a new owner doing the same old thing. There are some track modifications and some other different styles of vehicle coming. If I'm not stating this correctly.
No, you're correct. You're on the beam here. What the first thing Terry had to do was something that we always need to talk about, and Merrittville runs into it, and Ransomville and any other local track you go to, is that now people live next to you. And you need to be a good neighbor. And that means you don't be loud past what your curfew is supposed to be. You don't have, unruly fans, and, you are a good neighbor. And you need to be a good neighbor. When Humberstone last couple of years ran a bunch of specialty shows with the Eve of Destruction and what have you, where they did, a lot of demolition derbies with towing boats and house trailers and all kinds of stuff that the fans really, really liked. But sadly, for whatever reason, did not get rid of the junk and the debris afterwards. And when you were driving by the place, and I'm just talking from my experience of being a good neighbor or a bad neighbor, I don't want to drive by a speedway and see a lot of junked cars and boats all over the place. So Terry's first task, Terry Vince, was to get rid of the crap that was on the site and make it look a lot better, not like a junkyard. But he's also done a lot of other things too. There's going to be signs visible from the road, neon signs from the road, which is really, really nice, because up to this point, it's really kind of hard to figure out, oh, that must be Humberstone. There's no sign there. But if you're a local, you know. There's a second floor bar area that's been rejuvenated and going to be renovated. There's a big 350 square foot patio they're going to be running there. Track wise, they're going to put a new surface down. It's been a pretty rough track the last little while.
I was going to say, what are they doing to the track?
Yeah, well, they're gonna. I think somebody said reconfigure it. I don't know if they're gonna take away the oval shape that it has now. They may go to a deep. Not sure, but all I can tell you is they're putting new clay on it, and did put new clay on it as soon as Terry took ownership of it to improve the surface. It's been pretty rutty the last little while. Better lighting, additional lighting, improved pits, improved pit entrance and exit, and in terms of cars and divisions that they were going to run. The 358 modifieds that run at Ransomville and Merrittville will also be part of the weekly program at Humberstone with dirt rules, so everybody can run the cars there legally. They're not going to be dirt sanctioned by that organization, but they're going to run the same rules. He's also got an engine sealing program. I'm probably going to be guilty of being technical here, but it's going to be a lot less expensive for drivers and teams to race there and run there, and that's a good thing. So if we can get fans in the stands and drivers back in a new and improved facility, we've got Humberstone back into the family, and that thrills me a lot.
That's
really.
It's great news. It's always good to hear the fact that under challenging circumstances, someone is actually investing as opposed to pulling back, and that's why the story kind of caught my eye, is the fact that, well, here's somebody wanting to grow, somebody putting money into something in an age when a lot of people would say, "Ooh, I'm not going to do anything right now because I don't want to lose my shirt on this." So so kudos to Terry and the people that are working with him. So how will this? What is the season usually at Humberstone? What would the season be?
Well, if you go by the schedules that Merrittville has put up and Ransomville has put up, you're looking at end of April into the early part of May start, which is, pretty much normal, of course, depending on COVID. And Merrittville has struggled badly last year with COVID, not allowing any more than 100 fans in there. Ransomville didn't even operate at all last year, so it all depends, on COVID. But you want to get those fans in the stands because, they're a business like anything else, Lee. They've got insurance to pay, hydro to pay, property tax to pay, staff to pay, what have you. And if there's no fans coming in the gate, it's a very, very hard thing to try and work.
Let me ask you this, because a lot of people are not sure about the business plan of how motor speedways, motor racing facilities operate.
Sure.
Do the drivers and car owners pay to participate in races?
Yes, they do. That's what they call the back gate.
Yeah.
You charge there's a fee to join the sanctioning organization. There's also a fee to come in and race, and that helps pay the bills. And also the fans coming in the front gate help to pay the bills as well. Insurance is probably, other than property tax and hydro and staff expense, insurance is one of the areas. And you say auto racing, well, yeah, you need insurance to run. Back when Miss Janice's family co-owned Merrittville and Ransomville into the 70s, into the 80s. You had in several insurance companies, K&K was a big one. You used to pay them based on the number of weeks you ran. So if there's 4 weeks in a month and you got rained out for 2, you only paid for 2. Mm-hmm. Now, depending on how long you've been around, most insurance companies will demand that you pay them up front whether you run or not. Right. And that has been one of the biggest changes. So it's a very expensive endeavor, when you're talking about operating a racetrack. I think some fans and even some drivers are under this delusion that it's a license to print money, and I hate that expression, but you know what I mean.
I know.
Yeah. But you know what? They have it's a business, it's an expense, and Don Speece at Merrittville and the Atwell family and Jennifer Martin at Ransomville, they all have bills to pay just like you and I do. And if you're running a business or running your household, and they need those fans in the stands and the back gate, as you were saying, the fees to get into the track to make that whole thing work.
So one more quick question. Should these COVID restrictions continue, which limits crowds and contact, etc., will Humberstone operate the way they have planned to operate? Or do you know?
I'm going to answer you honestly. At this point, we all don't really know. Okay. All we know is that Humberstone is about to come out with their schedule. As I said before, Merrittville has theirs out, Ransomville has theirs out, and you got to go ahead and figure that we're somehow going to get on top of this thing with the vaccines if they decide to speed this darn process up.
Yeah.
We can get on top of that, and we can let more fans in. I mean, Merrittville ran just a couple of specialty races last year with a limited number of fans and put them on TV, and that was really good. That's also very expensive. You need the gate, and depending on how smart we are in isolating and not flitting off and going on vacations in places you're not supposed to, then we can get this thing under control and allow the province to open it up and say, okay, well, now you can have a few more fans in there. Will it ever go back to normal? Gosh, I hope it does, because these tracks, God love them, are hanging on. And Terry, as you said, on a wing and a prayer, if you don't take the risk, forget it. If you don't, you've got to dive in somewhere and get it done. And hopefully the tracks will survive. Man, they've been around since the 50s. You wouldn't want anything to stop them now.
Absolutely. And the Miss Janice that Erik is referring to is his lovely wife, Janice, and longtime supporter and member and operator, etc., of associate, pick a name, with Merrittville. And
we all grew up there and we met there, so we're all immersed in the sport.
So that's the Miss Janice that Erik is responding to. And before we let you go, I don't want to get into, because we could spend an hour and a half on this alone. I realize that both you and Miss Janice have significant ties with, as do I, with areas and people in the United States of America, and the last 24 hours have been very painful. So condolences to you. I know you must be as sad about that as I. But maybe it's a watershed moment that we needed to have to move into a better place. I hope that's the case.
And with the new administration, it's got to be better. So so things are going to get better, and we'll leave this nightmarish year behind, because we have a lot of friends, a lot of family, a lot of colleagues, and we do a lot of work in the U.S. And that was so upsetting to see yesterday. Yeah. Better times ahead. Lee, always great to sit in with you, buddy.
Indeed, my friend. Erik Tomas of Raceline Radio. How many radio stations have you got now?
We got 14, 17 airings a week, and this will be season 29 of the program.
Congratulations. Have yourself a fabulous 2021, my friend.
And Lee, before we let him off, I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yes.
Shouldn't that be near the top of the list?
Motorsports Hall of Fame member, Erik Tomas.
I mean, you win the Stanley Cup once, you're forever Stanley Cup champion. I think if you're in the Motorsports Hall of Fame, you're forever Motorsports Hall of Fame inductee.
No
Erik
question.
Tomas.
No question.
Yeah, but aren't you kind to mention that? Thanks so much, and honored to do that. And the sport's going to be okay. We just need to be smart with how we're going to spread this thing or not spread this thing, and we'll come out of this okay.
Give our regards to Fonthill. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Lee. Take care, Kev.
Cheers. There he goes. Okay, so it's nice to see a local business investing in the community. Again, the Port Colborne located Humberstone Speedway. Hopefully this whole COVID thing allows it to operate under full steam come the spring. Coming up again at 1 o'clock today, I want to remind you that Tara Murley is going to be joining us. Certainly not a household name, but may be over the next little while. She posted a video on Facebook, in case you missed the first part of our program today. Tara is the Manhattan's Bar and Grill co-owner and general manager here in St. Catharines. She posted a very, very passionate, heartfelt, sincere video on Facebook over the last 7 to 10 days. And her rant was about the politicians that were making the news at the time, taking vacations outside the country while people here were undergoing restrictions and not being able to get elective surgeries, etc., that had been postponed. Here she is here. This is Tara.
I'm not playing the audio here, Lee.
That's fine.
We played it already, and again, a couple of expletives in there, but there it is. That's Tara.
But and she's going to be joining us in about 10 minutes or so. And it was an interesting video for me to watch the first time I watched it. And you saw there in that just little clip that Kevin put up that there were tears in her eyes, and she was very, very emotional. And crying is an interesting thing. People cry for all sorts of reasons. And people cry because someone hurt their feelings, or they miss someone, someone passed away, they're just sad, they're just down, or a pet died, or something. There's all kinds of reasons to cry. One of the most interesting is people who cry when they get angry because they don't know how else to express that anger. And I found it interesting with Tara, and I think it's even more impactful when that happens. Instead of lashing out and doing something violent, they tend to break down. My mother was like that, as a matter of fact. When she was in a position, and it didn't happen very often, because my mom didn't get angry too often for any reason at anybody. But when it did happen, she was so frustrated that she couldn't do anything about it, that she had no power, that she had no outlet to change the situation. That it was so frustrating that is what angered her, and then it made her cry because of the frustration that had built up in her, and she felt that there was no way out. So it was an emotional event. And so I sympathize with Tara, because she did not have, if you saw the video at the beginning of the program, she didn't have tears in her eyes. She wasn't crying because she was sad. She was crying because she was really, really, really pissed off. And I think that's one of those feelings that we've all experienced on some level over the last while. And the most recent, actually, just to back up a little bit, one of the things I'd intended to, Kevin, when this started hitting the fan, is I wanted to come on the program and have a list of the names of all the politicians that had broken the trust of their people, be they national, international, national or provincial across the country, or local, and let people know who had done this. Well, that quickly became unwieldy, because there were so many that I thought, I'll spend most of my time reading names. And that in and of itself was depressing. But the most recent, and for us here in Niagara, the most egregious, is the fellow that held the role of CEO of Niagara Hospitals. Thomas Stewart, I believe, is his name. Spent time over the holidays. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's his house or whether it's anybody's house. It was his own private residence, but so what? The CEO of hospitals, for heaven's sake, that are pretty much at the stage of being overrun at this stage, spent time at his residence in the Dominican Republic. Well, that's the one that hits closest to home in Niagara, probably than anything else. He published an I'm sorry statement, but here is the statement that really is where the rubber hits the road. The Niagara Health Service Board of Directors published a statement that they have fired the CEO following a vacation during a lockdown. Now, firing is maybe not really the exact term, because what happens here is the Niagara Health, here's their statement, first of all. Niagara Health is committed to providing our patients, their families, and community with the best healthcare experience, and continually pushes to raise the bar in teaching and learning, research, and innovation. Our staff and physicians have earned the deepest respect of our community for their hard work and dedication during the pandemic. The Niagara Health Board of Directors are very proud of their extraordinary efforts for the last 6 years. Niagara Health has had a contraction. Here's where the rubber hits the road, is what this situation is. For the last 6 years, Niagara Health has had a contractual agreement with St. Joseph's Health System, among other collaboration initiatives such as joint programs and services. The agreement provided for Niagara Health to purchase CEO services from St. Joseph's Health System such that the organizations shared a joint CAO. So, or CEO. So, here's what happens, and it's not a bad thing, because a lot of companies will form an alliance and realize that we can share services instead of you hiring a president and you hiring a president and you hire, that we can share. All companies, all businesses, all industries are starting to put some of these synergies in place where they share hub style services. This is one of those cases. So the shared service of Thomas Stewart, as CEO of Niagara Hospitals and St. Joseph's Health System, it just indicated that Niagara would not be renewing that service. They would not be re-signing to purchase that service from the group. Now, one of the items that has appeared often in Twitter and other social media is what sort of severances, etc., or separation agreement payments, what kind of contractual items are included there that would, in other words, how much do we have to pay this guy to go away? That's basically what I'm getting at. We don't know. We don't know if there's any sort of, we assume that there must be some sort of separation payment agreement, but we don't know what's in the contract. But it's not as if he was employed only by Niagara Health Services. So can they withdraw their purchase of his services from the group without penalty? I doubt that that's the case, but we don't know what sort of penalty actually is there. Point being, I believe that they did the right thing. Said, hey, you know, come on. You're the CEO of our hospitals. Our frontline workers are overrun and at risk every day. We don't have the vaccines regularly rolled out yet here in Niagara. And you knucklehead, are down in the Dominican Republic. What could you possibly be thinking? So I think the point is, if you're that out of touch with the right thing to do, you got to be out of touch with the rest of the stuff you're doing.
Yeah, I just want to hop in, and you know what? We're so often critical of politicians, and while we're being critical of the CEO of the NHS, I want to commend the board of directors for the NHS. I mean,
No
a lot
question.
of us aren't even back to work full time, and in the middle of the lockdown, they got together quickly, and they made a swift and rash decision, and a sensible decision that I think most people were asking for, but unfortunately, sensible decisions don't often happen in politics. It takes a lot of people around a table to all say, we want this to happen, we're making this happen, and we'll deal with the consequences. I honestly, Lee, I don't even care if it came out and said that as a result, we have to pay him a severance of whatever thousands of dollars.
Well, that was kind of my point. I really don't care.
I don't care.
You don't want that guy running your hospitals anyway.
No, but good on the board of directors for getting together and say, you know what, this guy's out.
I totally agree. But that's the one that hit closest to home, and that happened long after the post by Tara Murley, whom we're going to be talking with in a few minutes. She made this post, I think it was very early in this situation, where the Ontario's finance minister had been away, and that was quite a number of politicians ago. We've had a lot of politicians since then that have come out. So now, it was only the tip of the iceberg when Tara made her video.
Now, Lee, we've got Tara in the green room, so let's just get to it right now.
Let's do it.
Waiting.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right, there you go.
Tara, hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
Good.
Better.
I have to tell you that I don't know if you've been watching the show or not, but earlier on I mentioned that Kevin and I both felt, and I'm sure others feel the same way, that the video that you posted was probably the most naked, raw, emotional piece that I have seen in a long time. And I just felt heartbroken watching your video for the first time, because I could sense your anger and your frustration and in this, and I realize it took a lot probably for you to put that out there, but thank you for doing so.
Thank you. Yeah, I kind of pride myself on being an open book. So, that morning when I had seen like you said, the list had just started kind of growing, and I was livid. I was shaking. I just kept crying, and I couldn't kind of come to terms with the emotions. Because in my head, there was only a few scenarios that in these politicians' heads that could justify what they had done. I mean, scenario one, don't care. You knew how it looked. You knew how unethical it was, and you were going. Scenario number two, you're so far out of touch with reality that you were oblivious to how it was going to come across, and fingers crossed you didn't get caught. Or scenario number three, that you're so far out of touch with the people that put you there to represent them. I mean, that's what a politician. We elected you because you're going to represent me, and you're so far out of touch of people drowning that you thought it was okay. And regardless of what those scenarios, which one is the winner in those scenarios,
Yeah.
it means you got to go.
Yeah.
All three scenarios means you probably shouldn't be representing us.
And I get what you're saying. It's almost like it doesn't, the situation or the environment in which you traveled really is of no consequence because there is no excuse for somebody in that
There
position.
really isn't. You knew what you were doing. You're too dumb to know what you were doing, or you're oblivious.
Now, were
three
there were a couple of folks that said that they traveled for family emotional reasons, i.e.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I'm sure most agree with me. So, the one politician, I don't know which was, I want to say Manitoba, who had lost her father. Okay, we're not cold-hearted. You're going to your father's funeral. That is an exception to the rule. We have critical thinking. It's not, the world doesn't operate in black and white.
Yeah.
It's full of gray. That's the area. My father passed away. I'd like to say, goodbye to him in my own way, and that means going. Of course she can go. Or the one that went to Greece because her grandmother's dying, and this is going to be the last opportunity she has to say goodbye. I can appreciate that. It was a tough few months. I got to go sit on a beach mentality.
Yeah.
That because they haven't felt really much sacrifice, particularly financial.
Tara, in your video, you made reference quickly to a friend of yours whose elective reconstruction surgery had been delayed or canceled, etc. And that seemed to be one of those points that really touched a nerve with you. Can you tell me her story?
Sure. So she, over the last couple of years, has been battling breast cancer. There's been ups and downs and blips. She's doing fantastic. She is cancer-free as of now. She had a bit of a scare in the late spring, early summer, but things are going well. She looks fantastic. She feels fantastic. But you want to start. She's a bit of a career woman. Like it's important to her. So she wants to move forward. As we all would. So let's put this behind me. I did it. I battled it. I won. I want to move forward in my life. She's young. She's younger than I am. And that's the last step, right? So, and there's a lot of that out there where these elective surgeries, people, you can see it everywhere where they have chronic pain and they need a new hip, or they need back surgery, and these are somehow being pushed to the wayside, and I honestly can't comprehend why. If we were like in the Italy situation where it was all hands on deck, and oncologists were now becoming, attending physicians in ICUs, or that'd be a different story. We're hopefully we don't get there, but we're certainly not there yet. So I can't even understand why they're being postponed.
Well, with that
Again, but I'm trying to stay in my lane.
I
I'm
understand.
not in the,
Yeah, I understand. With that kind of surgery that you're talking about with your friend, though, too, falls into the category of mental health as well.
You would think. You would think. You would think.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we all know, we all see the numbers of the, drug overdoses and suicides. I mean, these are all trickle-down effects of the lockdown, right? I mean, obviously, I'm speaking as a small business owner, but there's so many. And again, that just driving, as far as I see it, that just drives my point home to the obliviousness from these vacationing politicians. It makes my brain hurt because I cannot wrap my brain on that scenario. Like, they clearly didn't play it out. You know what I mean? Like, as a small business owner, Wayne and I always let's play out this scenario. They clearly didn't play it out, and or they did and didn't care. I just, for the average Joe, we can't wrap our brain around it because it's just so, the hypocrisy is mind-numbing.
Yeah, and the sense of entitlement that is involved with that kind of a decision. Unfortunately, the absolute power corrupts absolutely is the old phrase, and these people. And not saying all, the handful of people that have fallen into this category really do, at some point in time, lose touch with what we have always referred to as the common man / woman, as opposed to what really life on the street or life in the mainstream is like. And it's unfortunate that that veil falls down at some point in time. But again, don't you think that it would be fall into the category of responsibility of their leaders to make some sort of mandate clear before they make these decisions? Wouldn't you think?
I would think, obviously, but at some point, logic and critical thinking has to come into play, and particularly in a power of position. You spoke earlier in the show about how legally they were allowed to go. Right. Well, legally, I'm allowed to cut my toenails on an airplane, but I don't because I'm not completely unaware of how things work. I'm an adult, and the grown-ups in the room know not to cut their toenails on an airplane, right? There has to be some sort of, so the idea that some of them are saying, well, it was well within my legal rights, it's a cop-out as far as I'm concerned.
So let me ask you about your business. We're sitting here in the front window of a restaurant / bar in downtown St. Catharines at Fiddler's Poorhouse. Yeah. You're, I can see with the chairs flipped over and the bar in the background and whatnot. You're at Manhattan's Bar and Grill, also located in St. Catharines. And how's business? How are you doing?
So, okay, meh. We do okay. So I've been here. Next month will be 20 years. I've been
20 years. Wow.
20 years. I mean, I know. So you can kind of guess how old.
So you started when you were 10.
Yes, thank you. So I have built up. I call them my Manhattan family. The relationships that I've built over those 20 years are unshakable, unbreakable. And the ones that I've built even since this COVID thing has happened will now continue to be unshakable. They are my family. My friend who we were talking about earlier who has breast cancer, I met here. So we're okay because they are incredible. So they're very supportive. They're very loyal. We're paying the bills-ish. Sometimes you got to pick one out of the hat, like, who's getting paid this month? But we're doing okay. But I'm very lucky and grateful. We have restaurants and gyms and hair salons that, had planned on opening, let's say January, February, March, and have opened. Yeah. And they haven't had the opportunity to build up that base, if you will, and to build those relationships yet. A good friend of mine, for example, is Jose, who opened A Jose downtown St. Catharines.
Right.
So his plan was to open this, the taqueria before this had happened, and then bam, COVID happened, and now you're just spinning the wheels and trying to get it together as if opening a restaurant is statistically not the hardest thing you're going to do in your lifetime as it is.
Yeah.
So I consider myself very, very lucky, and I can't stress that enough. But there are a lot of places out there that are not so lucky, will not be so lucky. It's funny, I was saying earlier that if the politicians work together the way as well as the restaurant industry has been working together these past 10 months, imagine what we could be capable of. You have Facebook pages out there, like on the Lundy's Lane one, Restaurants of Niagara one, that everybody's just supporting, and it's just a positive atmosphere. And it's like, look what I had for dinner, and they show pictures. And people see us as competition, but that's just not the reality.
Yeah. Well, it's friendly competition. It's camaraderie
Well, it makes
style.
it better.
Yeah.
Sure.
Tara, before I let you go, we might as well, since you took time out of your day to talk to us, might as well give you a plug. Now, I'm assuming that you are open for order and curbside delivery and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so we're open every day at 2 p.m. We are trying to give our staff as many hours as possible and stay afloat and keep them afloat 7 days a week. And we have a huge menu and an ever expanding menu because, as the restaurant industries go this day, we pivot.
And they can do that. And they can do that online or by phone, I take it.
By phone.
By phone?
Our menu's online at themanhattan.ca.
All right.
Give me a call.
All right. I thought it was only fair that we gave you a chance to plug. Tara, thank you very much. Tara Murley, Manhattan's Bar and Grill.
Yeah, and I haven't sworn, and I haven't used any cuss words yet.
No,
either.
but to go to that point, you were in a place when you did that video. I could tell when I first watched it that you were in a place that was pretty dark and pretty lost, and without the language, without that raw expression, it wouldn't have had the impact that it had. And I'm not condoning profanity, but I didn't think that it was out of place, and you shouldn't feel guilty about it, because it woke a lot of people up that needed waking up, and I thank you for it, and I thank you for being here today. We froze her out.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. And that study finds most restaurants fail within first year of it becoming illegal to go to them. That's a great graphic, Kevin. I'm sorry, it's not funny,
No,
but it
so
is. It's one of those memes that that pops up. That's good. All right, so thank you to Tara Murley. Shame on you to the politicians that did not use the brain God gave you to think, oh, this wouldn't look good. And it doesn't matter when it says, Daddy, why can't we go to Florida? Well, just because we're not supposed to, and we're supposed to do the right thing. All right. Well, it's been planned for a while. Well, you know what? To be perfectly honest with you, my son and my wife had planned to go to the UK, because that's where my wife is from. And my son wanted to do something really nice for his mom. And how many mothers would want to not take their sons up on that? Because it doesn't happen all that often. It's Mom, I want to go to England, never been there, and I'd like you to take me because that's where you're from. Wow, isn't that cool? That didn't happen. And that would have been a family life event just for the two of them. Mom and son traveling. It would have been a bonding moment like no other. That didn't happen. And there are things, people have been disappointed People have had plans over the last 10, 11, 12 months. People have had plans that were canceled either by them or by others beyond their control because of this situation. And we've had to suck it up and deal with it. We've had to say to ourselves, okay, well, that's the life we're living right now. We'll make up for it later. It'll be okay. Well, it's not a big deal as long as we're healthy. As long as we have my father always used to, as long as we have our health, everything else is secondary. Everything else will go away. Everything else will be okay. But you have to work at it. You can't just wake up in the morning and say, well, they'll look after us. I know we'll go anyway. I know we'll be okay. We'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Another side of it as well, Lee, is he's the CEO or was the CEO of 2 health organizations. I know he had vacation time. What's his plan for the 14-day quarantine?
Yeah.
Is that on our dime? If you have the CEO's job, I don't think you can quarantine and effectively do your job. I know there's remote this and remote that, but was that part of your plan to come back and spend 14 days on our dime in your basement quarantining because you went to the Dominican?
Now,
that's part of the deal.
I don't be you a Prime Minister fan, a Trudeau fan or not is totally irrelevant. But one of the things that he had to address over the last couple of weeks is people that took vacations coming back home, and to go to Kevin's point, applying for the government grant that covered their costs for the 2-week quarantine. Now, the government program that was released, I can't remember the letters that go along with it right now, but the program that was released allowed people to apply for this grant that compensated them for taking those 2 weeks that they had to quarantine for. Now, that was not intended for people that went on vacation willingly and then came back for 2 weeks and expected the government to pay for it.
Now, there are all kinds of different lines of work, and there are some people where international travel is going to be essential for whatever line of business they're in.
Yeah.
And that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
It's not for the Hawaii.
Or you've been working over there for a year and a half, and now you're returning to Canada. Okay, we get it. Yeah. There are a lot of people I know that have, actually not them themselves, but I have a number of friends who have children over in places like Japan and Korea, China, teaching English. They've lived there for, it's a big thing. Happens a lot. So they want to, they have to come back for whatever reason. Their tenure is over, or the contract is done, or whatever the reason, they're coming back to Canada. All right, I get it. You can't necessarily afford to isolate yourself before you mingle with your family, so that's what those grants are for. Not because you wanted to go and stay on a resort in Veradero. Like, the entitlement just is astounding.
Lee, not to get off that track, but I'm going to throw something at you.
Oh, by all means, please do. We could go on forever.
We didn't discuss before the show, but I know that this family, I don't know if you've been following the disappearance of the 61-year-old man from Welland, Rick Kudis. And I'll bring it up here. Niagara 411 has shared it a lot.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about that.
There's a Facebook group dedicated to the search efforts, and it's just so sad for the family. The man's 61 years old.
Rick Kudis.
Last seen, and I don't know if you can read that, Leah.
It's a little small for me.
So Rick was last seen December 28th at around 5:10 in the afternoon, walking east on Port Robinson Road near Exeter Road. And just so you know, I'm very familiar with that.
I know you are, yeah.
My in-laws live right there. He left his home near Niagara College in Welland on foot, and his current location is unknown. White male, 5'10", 155 pounds, a slim build, toque, black winter boots, brown canvas-style winter jackets, blue jeans. He's 61 years old, Lee, and there's a family here that's affected. There's a family who, since December 28th, have not seen or heard from their father, who otherwise, on December 27th, in good physical and mental health.
Yeah, so that's well over a week.
Yeah, it's
since he was seen last.
I mean, there's literal anguish. My father-in-law walks that trail. There's a trail there that actually connects and goes along the recreational canal.
Right.
And I don't know that Rick was ever on that trail, but my father-in-law walks that trail almost every day. And he's been, kind of looking left and right now a little more often. He's come
Sure.
across people that have been walking the trail and looking at the banks of the canal to see if they notice anything in the water. And my heart, and I know our family's heart, goes out to the two daughters and the entire extended family of Rick Kudas. I can only imagine how this has completely upended your entire holiday, just not knowing the whereabouts of your own father.
Well, it's life-changing.
It is. It's absolutely life-changing.
And things like that are so impactful for people. So if you have any knowledge at all, and this, of course, is also on Niagara 411, you can look it up yourself. And there's...
that's the phone number. I believe that's the NRP, Lee.
Yeah. All right.
Meanwhile, and so it's just odd, and on Niagara 411 today, there was a missing person report with ties to Kitchener, but also the region, Jeff Shantz.
Yeah, I had this on my list as well. Jeff Shantz, 46-year-old male, Caucasian, slim, 6'1", dirty blonde hair, hazel eyes. He has a connection with Niagara as well as the Kitchener area, I believe. Yeah, there we go. Again, this is a person whose, I believe it said in the description, main mode of travel is on foot. I believe they said that as well.
Now, do you know, Lee, I saw the guy and I saw this photo and I'm like, he's the 2019 Canadian Cornhole champion.
Get out.
No, absolutely. And
This is him?
I believe, no, so KW is kind of the hub in
Kitchener
Canada.
Waterloo is what that stands for.
It's the hub in Canada for competitive cornhole. They have probably the most, I don't want to say the best.
Explain to
league.
people exactly what that is, since you're talking about it.
Cornhole's that little beanbag game that you'll see people playing at trailer parks when they're camping or tailgating and all the things we used to do.
Yeah.
It's the beanbag through the hole. And just like anything, people take it seriously. They start challenging each other. Next thing you know, it's on ESPN. And I believe Jeff is one of the guys that I saw on ESPN.
So how does somebody like this just
no idea
disappear?
Same with Rick, right, in Welland. I mean, we're not dealing with with elderly people that are dealing with mental illness and dementia.
Yeah.
That might go wandering. I don't think this is the situation here. So it's bizarre, and
it's a shame, and it's very interesting. And I mean, you'd never want to conjecture that for some reason these guys are connected in any way, but you just have to say we've got a 61-year-old and a 46-year-old that seem like they know what they're doing with their days, and we don't know where they are. So it's unfortunate.
Now, just to let you know, Lee, at the end of the program, we're going to be featuring Niagara artist Valerie. She was one of the winners of Niagara Music Awards 2020. And if you're just joining the show or you've never stuck around this late in the show, we always end with a little cityscape of St. Paul Street and playing a local Niagara artist or a local Niagara band. So if you know an artist or a band and you want to be featured on the show, just let us know. Drop it in the comments. Anyway, Lee, the show's yours once again.
Well, that's okay. It's ours. It's ours. We share and share alike.
It's your name right down there.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just window dressing. We all know that you drive this thing, Kev. So anyway, I do want to do something that we should have done more often since we came on the air at noon. Remind you that this is a new version of the same program. We have sort of what we think is a new and improved look on the screen. We are a title sponsored by Gales Gas Bars Limited, and we want to thank Jessica Friesen, the CEO of Gales, and her staff and crew for coming on for 6 months to support this program on a continued basis every week at noon on Thursdays here from Fiddler's Poorhouse. So thank you to them for signing on as a result of a pretty good performance of this program over the past this is episode 28. The new name is Niagara 411 Live, just so that it makes it very clear that we do partner with Nick and all of you contributors from Niagara 411 in the fact that this is the live version of that program. We also have a breaking news option that Kevin can just pump punch up there. Like if you've got something to say, like, hey, we've got a fire, we've got a car crash, we got a lost dog, we got a whatever happening right now, you've got to get on this, and you can come on this. We can put you. This is like breaking news. So it's happening in the moment, you know. So somebody slashed your tires right now, call us. We can do that.
Somebody steal a package off your porch? Give us a call.
The Porch Pirates. Yeah, there's another thing. So anyway, to Gales Gas Bars, our title sponsor, thank you. There are some other co-sponsors that are going to be showing up in the near future as well that we appreciate considering for the program. Fiddler's Poorhouse, Dave McParian and his staff, thanks for allowing us here in the window. We decided to change the time here to noon to make it a little bit easier for you to participate, a little bit easier for you to maybe grab your sandwich on a lunch hour and sit down and connect with your community, because that's what this is all about. It's all about Niagara everywhere. In spite of the fact that we're located here in St. Catharines to do the show, it's a whole Niagara thing, i.e. our Humberstone interview, Humberstone Speedway, sort of a rebuild and a rejuvenation. We thank Erik Tomas for joining us from Raceline Radio to fill us in on that. So thank you to the people that have been contributing more money to upgrading that facility and making sure that motor sports continues at a high level in Niagara. So thanks to Erik for that. And also to Kevin and his company, WeeStreem Niagara. They power this whole thing. The technical concept is theirs, and the new look to the program is theirs as well. We would like to think that we're cutting edge here in Niagara, and not to put too fine a point on it, and I'm not going to get into numbers and names and etc., except for the fact that this is not fake news, this is actual fact. Over the last 27 episodes of this program, our live stream news and information programs here on what was originally the 411 and is now Niagara 411 Live has blown all other local media, podcasts, live stream videos off the map. We have, thanks to you, achieved a viewership over the last 27 episodes of almost 400,000 views. There is not one media outlet here in Niagara that can come close to that. Our average, and we'll share the information, our average viewership every week is between 14 and 18 to 20,000 viewers. Participants and hits, whatever you want to call it. And there is no other local media that can come close to that. And for that, we thank you. We thank our partner Nick. We thank Gales Gas for fueling this program. We thank WeeStream for the technology, and Kevin for doing the graphics and the promotion and the sharing and whatnot across the social media platforms for making this happen. And I think sometimes we Canadians tend to not want to blow our own horns, and we don't do that very often. But I thought this being the first episode of 2021, episode 28, with our new and improved look and our new name of Niagara 411 Live, it was only fair that we let you know that there is no other local media that can come close to what we do with regard to live streaming and audience participation with a view to grabbing your views on this program. And for that, we thank you. And stay tuned, because it's only going to get better. So, and that is a fact, by the way. You can, if you want to get the numbers, if you want to find out what is he talking about, how do you know that, what are the numbers, make the claim. Well, I'll tell you what, you just go to WeeStream or Livestream Niagara on Facebook, get in touch with Kevin. He'll send you the numbers, and we'll prove it to you. All right?
Not even closely.
Not even close. And so we're going to get to Valerie in just a minute. But Kevin, explain to us, this is sort of our, as I say, inaugural episode. And this whole thing was your baby, I guess, from the beginning. You gave birth to this thing. I'm just happy that I came along for the ride. I'm the uncle, I guess. You're the daddy, I'm the uncle, or
Just
whatever.
As happy.
Talk to us about how WeeStream is going to go forward in 2021 in this new environment that we're in.
We're still waiting for sports to come on board. We've had a number of sports organizations that have been partners of ours in that we've been live streaming their championships for the previous 4 or 5 years, including Volleyball Canada. We stream national sports championships for the Canadian military. I mean, we've been CFP Trenton, we've been CFP Borden, we've been housed there in the barracks. It's a lot of fun working for the Canadian military. Volleyball Ontario, Gymnastics Ontario, waiting for all that to come back. In the interim, we're helping a lot of small companies deal with virtual events. We're helping them just set up the technology. We're also managing online events for people. If you're struggling or if you're looking at the current lockdown situation and thinking, we got to do better, I've got to do better, please give WeeStream a call. And I'll tell you, Lee, I help out a lot of people. And I'll be the first person to tell you if we can't give you our services. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because you call me doesn't mean that I'm going to try and fleece some money out of you. I don't really work like that. I'll help people in Niagara. I'll point you in the right direction. If that right direction happens to be contracting WeeStream, I'll let you know. For a lot of people, it won't be, but I'll help you out where I can. So thanks, Lee.
And for my part, if there is any need in your repertoire for somebody to assist you with your creative positioning, your marketing, your voicing, your advertising, that is in my wheelhouse. And my business is this. It's what comes out of here. Well, a little bit what comes out of here. LeeSterryVoice.com is my website. If you want to reach out to me, by all means, just do that. And without further ado, again, I want to thank Erik Tomas for being here. I want to thank Tara Murley for being here. I want to thank you for joining us on episode 28 of this program, but the first one of our brand new look at our brand new time. Join us every Thursday at noon here at Fiddler's Poorhouse. Again, thanks to Gales. And this has been Niagara 411 Live. I'm Lee Sterry, and this is Valerie. Have yourself a fabulous weekend. Cheers.
If we just had tomorrow, would you love me all night long? Yeah, yeah. If you just had one more breath, would you steal it from my lungs? Yeah, yeah. 'Cause your eyes always wondered if you could do better. But now that we know that we don't have forever, you're scared of commitment. But now things are different. Just want me, 'cause the world stops spinning. It only took a lockdown for you to come back around. It only took a countdown for you to figure it out. It had to take you realizing any day could be your last. Why'd it take a lockdown? Why'd it take a lockdown? I was always a ride or die. I think I scared you right out of